self-expression. I want to see if I can articulate this, because it is a subtle nuance that this morning I am coming to appreciate in a powerful way. Beginning with the reminder that there is nothing outside of myself that has happiness in it. The happiness, the good feeling that I deserve and I desire is not outside of me. It's not in a person, it's not in a situation, it's not in a place, it's not in any of those things. It's within me, and it is within my grasp at every moment, meaning it's not dependent upon anything. It's not reliant upon anything. It's free. It can emerge freely by my choice, by my choosing it. And part of how I choose it and how I allow it to emerge is in the realization of that, is in the remembrance of that it is not outside of myself, and there's nothing that I'm waiting on to be happy, to feel happy. And then that leading into the acceptance and the embracing of this moment as a moment where happiness may be found. Not, again, outside of the self, but through myself. Happiness exists for me to feel in this moment. And something else that is a part of that feels very powerful to me is this understanding that ego doesn't have to come along for the ride. One of the things that I'm not dependent upon for the feeling of happiness is the compliance of ego. I don't need ego to be feeling happy in order for me to feel happy. In other words, ego can feel unhappiness. Ego can feel whatever it's feeling. It can feel anxiety, it can feel angst, it can feel tension, it can feel unhappy. And I am not dependent upon the feeling of ego in order to be happy, in order to actually experience the positive sensations, the feeling of good feeling. Ego can feel unhappy, and it doesn't affect my ability to feel happy. That is a curious and powerful thing, and experiencing that directly is further demonstrative of the truth of ego not being the self. Ego is not what I am. It is so not what I am. It is, of course, contained within me, and I do not disown it, but it is so not my identity. I am so able to see from this perspective where I can witness ego experiencing a sensation, experiencing feeling, ego feeling unhappiness. And not even that affects my happiness. My happiness is unrelated to the experience of ego in this moment. Unrelated, unaffected. I don't need to feel happy to feel happy, because that unhappy is not me. It's a sensation, it's a feeling, it is a part of the content of the present moment, certainly, but it's not what I am. And so even with the experience of unhappiness, and in fact that experience of ego's unhappiness becomes a doorway into feeling happy. in my allowance of ego to feel what it feels and to acknowledge it and not deny it and not repress it, but also to not be reliant upon it, to not be waiting for ego to change. In other words, not seeking to control it. When I'm not seeking to control ego and to make it happy, to please it, when I'm not waiting for something there to shift in order for my good feeling to return, to be felt, then it does. It returns. It is felt automatically. There's a prairie dog that got hit on the road. And I can still witness that. And feel the feelings that arise from that. And feel the higher level of that prairie dog being totally fine. It's good. It's better, in fact. And maybe that seems callous or heartless. I feel it differently. That itself is an opportunity to witness something that to ego is disturbing, but to have this opportunity to not be disturbed by disturbance, to recognize, to see from the higher place, and to hold that frequency. And in holding that frequency, it sounds however it sounds, but I feel a direct connection to the energy of that creature. And I feel its liberation, even. I feel its freedom. I feel its well-being. It's rejoicing. It's not sorrowful. It's not regretful. It sees no mistake. It is one with spirit, connected to. And as it was born into this world of form with ease, it departs from this world of form with ease. There is no resistance. There is no suffering in it. And it continues without interruption to know its well-being. And I can feel that. That was unexpected, to say the least. But nothing is ever coincidence. Ever, ever, ever. What a further reinforcement of the delineation, not separation, but delineation between ego and the experience of ego and the identification with form, and the truth of self, the truth of what myself is, the truth of that connectedness, the truth of that ever-present peace and wellness, the well-being of this self, which is not dependent upon anything and not affected by anything. And even when ego feels affected and the consciousness that I am becomes consumed as it self-identifies in that space and forgets the truth of it, even in that, the well-being of myself is not shaken and is still available. It's right there. My happiness, my good feeling is right there, freely accessible, within reach at any given moment. And all it takes is for me to remember that. To remember that the feeling that I have lost myself in, that I have identified myself with, and therefore lost myself in, I can always remove myself from, because it is not me, and return to the truth of myself, of my being, without changing it, without changing that feeling, without seeking to control it, without asking it to explain itself or to be some other way. I can witness the experience of unhappiness without and within, and still find good feeling. Still feel good in myself. And that is pretty remarkable. And there's a license plate on someone's car in front of me that says, "Let it be." Let it be. That's all I got. Have a beautiful day.